Clash tutorial on Golf Clash Caddie. So basically I'm going to be going over how to use Golf Clash Caddie and how to use it in the game. So here is the Golf Clash Caddie. Basically when you install it, what you have to do is you have to drag this up and then drag this to the screen. It took me a while to figure that out, but I finally got it. So then once you do that, you're going to only see the golden shot clubs, and then you have to add your other clubs. So I have multiple bags in here for my multiple accounts, and I also have one for masters. So we're going to go over the wind. So this is how you change. You can change your settings from here. You can set up a widget. You can, have it do your elevation adjustment. Elevation adjustment is pretty much if you're going 10%, 20%, 30%. You're shooting uphill, you're going -10, -20. So the minus is pretty much uphill, and then the 10% or anything positive would be going downhill. I usually have my wind set at 0 when I slide it over. That way, when you're ready for your next shot, you're not having to clear a bunch of stuff that maybe you forget, or you're watching the opponents play to see like, wow, it's a nice shot. You won't have to worry about clearing it all out, because then you'd have to reset everything back over. So I just have all those three. Pretty much I have it set to slide over. So you just go like this and then back in, and then when you need it, you go back out. So here's the wind. This is the most important part. This is what you're going to use in the game. So right here, you have basic, Marlin, Navigator, Quasar, Titan, Katana, Kingmaker, Berserker, Power 1. This Power 1 ball is for like your special balls. So like say you have your eyeball from last year, you want to set it to a 1, or you have a Voyager ball, that would be considered a Power 1 ball. And then you got your Power 2 balls, which is like all your other balls that are special that you buy from the shop if you purchase them. Like the hat trick ball, that would be like a Power 2 ball in this situation. Power 3, you could use a Kingmaker, whatever, mostly just for your Power 3 special balls. And then you got your Power, and it keeps going down, it goes all the way down to the golden ball. Alright, so that's how you change it. You just move it over with your finger, whatever ball you're using. I'm going to set it to Marlin. I'm going to do a example for you guys. So here's how you change your elevation. So this is going uphill. So if you're like severely uphill, you can go to 80%, and then it goes all the way back down to 0, and then 10%, and you can go all the way up to 80%. So like on some of the only time you're going to really need 80% is if you're doing the Portico Cove on tour 12. That's the only one. I mean, it has one shootout. I think I was doing like 50 or 60%. That's pretty much, it's severely downhill. You're shooting to another platform. That's going to be the major. Right here is your min-max bar. So one thing about this is I've noticed once you put in your numbers, say that, you see how they're even right now? Well, if you go into game, let's say we use Kingmaker, and they're even. So when you go into game, sometimes I like to use this bar, especially like if you're like 80%, it's going to be right underneath the 0. That's 80%, and then max. So you have to figure out how far you are away from the hole. If you're at mid, min, or max. And usually what I like to do is I like to size it up, say depending on the wind. So if the wind is a headwind and you're at min, so here's min, close. So once you go to min, so here's min, and then say you have a headwind that you're adjusting for, I usually go a little bit more to adjust for those rings, because then it gives you more of an accurate shot, and it'll pretty much line you up straight into the hole. I really like it. I've been playing with it for about a month, and I've been using the slider bar for 2.5, 3 weeks. And the slider bar actually does a pretty good job. You'll see that the numbers change only in the middle, and then the min-max stay the same. So right here is all your clubs and stuff. So you're going to have all your clubs that are listed here. Usually what I try to do is every tournament you'll have to reset your clubs to whatever the course calls for. So if you think you're going to use a Cataclysm, or you think you're going to use a Guardian, you need to have those on there, you know, even if it's just for one hole, because when you go to pick your clubs and you change everything out and you go back into game, you want to make sure that you have them there. A lot of times, like say if I'm, like I do Masters a lot, so if I'm in Masters, I'm going to click here, and I'm pretty much have all my drivers on top. Sometimes I need those drivers, because you play a lot with drivers than you would with long irons like you do in Expert or Pro. But yeah, and then I have the rest of these clubs on here to finish the hole, so I don't have to go back and change. But you know, you can always go back and change. It's really easy. You know, while your opponent's shooting, just drag it over, change your bag, then you're back. So you actually have all those bags available in game, so that'll help out. So let me go here. I'm going to select a Marlin. I'm going to give you guys a tutorial real quick. Let me invite myself to a game. Get my other account ready. Show you real quick. I'm going to go Marlin golf bag. I'm going to change to Ted because I'm not D-Money. D-Money's going to go first. Monster. This is probably one of the worst holes to show you this example. There's a little bit more elevation, especially when you get to the green. You'll find that it's uphill. Let me change this. Go to a Marlin. Alright, so off the tee, I'm at max club. So I'm going to put the slider right there, and I'm shooting downhill, so I'm going to do 10%. I put in 5.6, so then you'll see like right where my Thor's hammer is, the thing in the middle, it's 3.4. So now I come back here, and I'll line up for my shot, and I'll move it 3.4 rings. And you should see it'll hit exactly where I lined up, which is perfect, like right there. And then yeah, that's how it is. Your most important shots are going to be your drive shots. You do want to make sure your long iron shots are, you know, just as well. But I think you have more of an advantage from your drivers in this game than anything. So this one's at 80%, so I really have to only go 3.8. Now I'm at max. Should slide right up in there. So this next shot, on the main account is going to be uphill. It's going to be like 10%. I'll show you exactly what I mean. So right here, what I'm going to do is a little short, so I'm going to rough bump it over. I have to add a little bit of power. So I'm going to go, see how I'll automatically reset, 4.1. So now I'm going to go 3.5 rings. Three and a half right there. So I'm going to put minimal power on it just to get it over. So that should get right over. Close. Alright, so this next shot is an elevated shot. You can see that the ball is below the pin. Right when you see that illustration. Normally this one would be like a little rough bump. You got to be careful because the ball guide does lie. What you got to do is, like, this would be a perfect shot. So what you got to do is you got to take it and adjust for the wind. Okay, and if I'm doing 1.8, I'm at pretty much min distance. So I'm going to go 0.6. 0.6 would be the halfway. So it'd be like right there. Oh, great ball. It's going to go over to the right. You got to make sure when you're doing rough bumps you hit perfect. It helps out a lot. Alright, so now I got the thorn on. I'm going to say my max distance. I'm pretty much max distance. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put max distance 1.9. And then I'm going to go down to my thorn. I got to move one ring. So let's see. Let's see if we can put this in the hole. What you want to do is go over this way. Okay, so I gotta go one ring. Gotta beat that timer. Nope, didn't beat the timer. So that's one thing, is like the timer and everything. Like when you size up your shot, you got to do it with a quickness. If not, you will time out. It's only happened to me once, but more or less, you know, sometimes what happens is I'll be on another account and I'll forget to switch my bag. So every time, make sure that you go switch your bag and make sure that, you know, you got the right account on there, because I was shooting with Michelle's account and I was still using Ted's clubs. Ted's clubs are better than Michelle's, so my accuracy on most of my clubs were off. That was like the failure that I did this tournament, and that's why Michelle didn't qualify, because I did a poor job of making sure that I adjusted, and I was using the wrong bag. So this one's going to be, I've been using 10%, so I'm pretty much 80% right now. I'm going to put in 5.8 and then 3.1. I'm going to let this time out. I'm going to show you another one. Because I would have rushed that shot and I wouldn't have been able to get a good example on it. So pretty much, I mean, you're going to be, you can see that on the screen that we're about 80%. So when you actually drag it back, you're probably going to be, about 70. 72, somewhere around there. So if I was going to do 72, so here's my 80 mark below the 0. So I'm going to do 72. It's going to be about right there. So that'll be about 72. And these clubs are pretty much similar. Same club, just one level difference, doesn't change the accuracy. So you're going to be in still the same distance. So let's go to another draw, and we'll see. Put my 10% up there. Because we're shooting downhill. See 1.7. This is a much easier wind, so I'm going to move it 0.88. So what I'm going to do is, especially with the headwinds in this, I don't have any curl. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to go for the rough bump. I got to move it 0.8. So I'm going to go 0.8. That's like that's a 10% adjustment. Hit it perfect. It should land exactly on that rough, right where we wanted it, and right by the hole. So in this tournament, that's the way I've been playing it on expert. Just been doing the rough bump. I found it's easier, safer. I can actually hit it great and not have to worry about going into that sand and then having to make a hard shot. It's always right by the hole. So this one's 2.1. I'm going to give it a little bit of curl. See if I can't get this thing to drag it out. So this one's going to be more like a 1.2, because it is a little bit stronger. And I want it to hit that nudge right there. So I'm going to give it just a tiny bit of curl. Bring it back in. Perfect shot. So it hit that nudge, and it goes right by the hole. So you can see like both of those comparisons. One's on one side, one's on the other. Pretty much one was with curl, one was no curl. So that's just how you'll have to decide we won. Right on. So yeah, that was my Golf Clash tutorial on Golf Clash Caddie. I hope you guys find it useful. I would use it every tournament. You can use it in tour play, give it a practice. I know when I first got it, trying to get used to it and stuff like that, I had a couple good shots right off the bat, but after that, I started to lose Tour 11 trophies, but I needed to practice with it, and I needed a good example. Tour 11, you have some higher winds, so you have to move your ball guide a lot more. But this should help you out. I mean, you should be able to, go in there. Let me show you. I used it on my weekend round. And I did pretty well. Okay, I'm third now. I was second. Pretty much used it on hole, 1, 2, all the way through. Didn't do so good in the opening, but then I showed up in the weekend. But if I didn't have that, this would probably be my score. The hardest thing is to set up for your adjustments, as far as knowing when it's 20%, knowing when it's 10%, knowing when it's 30%. Pretty much you just have to examine the hole. So when you guys go ahead and do your tournaments, the first day, just take it as a practice run. See exactly how much you need to adjust. If it's really high in the air and your ball's severely downhill, it's mostly going to be like 20 to 30%. Like if you were in that massive like Tour 11 holes, then you would have to go more. But you'll know as soon as you shoot the ball, you'll know that your target's not correct and that you need to go up. So, all right, guys. Hopefully this will help you guys. And and happy stroking, bro.